All right, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Wednesday night, August 13th, 2025 is the date, 9:38 p.m. local time, that's California time. Latest activity here on the globe shows a 1.4. By the way, for the live streamers out here that watch the Earthquake 3D Globe, the EMSC data is still offline, so this is just the USGS data showing up here on the globe, which is, it helps, but also helps to have a second agency in there monitoring worldwide activity. Hopefully they get that fixed. Latest earthquake here shows a 4.3 into the Japan Trench, fairly deep at about 54 miles deep here for the latest quake. Another deep earthquake up here this morning underneath the Sea of Osk. That's situated there into the subduction zone of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, south of where the 8.8 earthquake struck there last month. So we still got to watch this segment down here. That has not had any release and pressure in quite a while. Little curious to see if we'll see some larger movement down here soon. As far as the aftershock sequences go there across Russia, typical movement. Got about 12 earthquakes or so in the last 24 hours, mostly fours, a couple fives thrown in there as well. Up in Alaska, earthquake felt around the Fairbanks area this evening, a 4.3 outside of the Cantwell, Alaska area. That sits to the south there of the Fairbanks area, but 4.3, I guess that's a little distance. Either way, some folks reported feeling that out there. It's around the Great Alaska Range. Fairly lengthy area out here, mountains on the Denali Fault. That is very capable of producing big earthquakes. A little bit more active out here in Alaska in the last 24 hours. Again, the latest, largest quake, 4-pointer out there. Doesn't appear to be associated with the Denali Fault up here, but kind of keep an eye on that. California, West Coast area, starting off here into Washington. I got one earthquake here around the east of the Cascades here in this basin region, a 2.3. Nothing big out around the Seattle area. No earthquake activity showing up whatsoever on Mount Rainier, but we will double check that. It's something that we got to do here because there's just been some fishy stuff going on there with the seismograph stations recently. By the way, Cascadia subduction zone tremor, 88 epicenters, but fairly broad range out here from Vancouver Island there all the way down to southern Oregon coast. Not a big number, but there is some kicking up a little bit, looks like. Mount Rainier. So let's go over here and check this out. This is a seismograph station that's pretty close to the earthquake or swarming activity. This is current, today's UTC time. These look like distant earthquakes, I believe, here in the last 4 hours or so. I'm thinking that may be what rock falls look like, right? They talk about how some of these readings are rock falls. That could be it, but I'm talking about earthquake activity, which is well-defined spike type activity on the graph, which showed up there in the last 24 hours as well. Although it looks a little bit less active, but we're still seeing earthquake activity out here. I don't believe, this may be a rockfall event as well, but I just don't believe that a lot of these spikes are snow melt, ice breaking off, high wind. A lot of these are definitely earthquake activity up there. Let's go check out the seismograph station there to the southwest here. See what's going on this one. There's a little spike of an earthquake, maybe some rock falls being picked up as well. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity showing up, although there is a couple in there. Very small one. So we'll continue to watch that. See how that evolves. Down there across Mount St. Helens, one earthquake being reported. Looks like late last night. I do want to double check that area real quick of Mount St. Helens. And we'll run down here real quick up at the summit area because they've been having a little bit of swarming as well. No one's really talking about it. Although it looks like it's kind of tapered off here. I don't know what that reading is there. Let's see, previous. See, there's a. What is that noise? I got some noise outside. There is a well-defined earthquake. That's definitely an earthquake there. There's a couple out here at Mount St. Helens. That one that they're talking about at 22:32 yesterday, so that's at 10:32. Let's see if we can find that one 10:32, 22:32. It's going to be, man, I don't know. I don't see it in here. It's supposed to be within this line. Maybe this one, but there's, what about these other earthquakes? Are those ice breaking off too and rockfall? I don't know. There's definitely some earthquakes showing up there across Mount St. Helens. Nothing of any big activity, but we got a little bit. Around Mount Hood as well, got a couple earthquakes showing up there, back-to-back 1.2 and a 1.5. So, while we're at it, we better go check the Mount Hood area. I really haven't checked in on this recently. Beautiful volcano up there in Oregon, but this one I don't believe is a good station. It's got too much noise on it. It's up at the top of Palmer Lift area, and it's not working right. So let's see what else we got around the area here. To the west, that one, yeah, how can you even see that? BHC, here's a decent one from the previous UTC time, but kind of wanted to see what was on here. Let's see, try a different station. This one's a little wacky as well. I mean, I guess if there was something big going on, we would see it. There was only 2 earthquakes there being recorded earlier, 1.2 and a 1.5, but those should show up on the seismograph stations. What about this one to the north? See, this one's way overblown as well. Man, I don't know what's going on with this stuff. There's the 2 earthquakes. Okay, this one shows it. Yeah, they had this, a 1.2 and then a 1.5 within seconds of each other, roughly in the same location there, about a mile or so underneath the area, but you got to account for the elevation up here as well, so it's probably a couple miles down underneath this area. But that earthquake activity did show up within seconds of each other. That's why it looks a little bit thicker right here. It does look like there was another earthquake following that event as well. Maybe a couple other smaller ones in there on the graph, but this one here should have been recognized as an event there because it followed the 2 smaller, or the 2 larger quakes. They're not large, but 1.2 and a 1.5. So we'll keep an eye on it. Be pretty crazy if everything started lighting up out here across the Cascades, and as far as volcano activity goes. I mean, it's could happen. You never know. A lot of earthquake activity in certain areas for now, though. Northern California, nothing showing up there on the map. The graphs look pretty quiet. One earthquake looks like showing up around New Zealand. We'll check that out here in a second. San Francisco Bay Area, number of earthquakes there today. Nothing big going on. Just a couple ones out there around the San Francisco Bay. San Andreas Fault holding on for now. Got a little 2.2 north of the Garlock Fault shear zone. Southern California down here fairly quiet. Really nothing above 2.5 today. All small microquake activity. Up in the Yellowstone area, outside the region near the Hebgen Lake Estates, they had a big earthquake out here in 1959. I believe it was low grade to mid grade 7-pointer. And that was a big quake out there. Area of the crust here that's kind of getting pulled and stretched apart just because of the way the North American plate runs out here against the North American craton here. It's a centerpiece of land. Pretty much it's been relatively stable while everything else tears and warps around it and deforms. So this is just an area where things are getting kind of stretched apart here. Yellowstone sits over here, the hot spot, former Yellowstone hot spots down across Idaho and down in this fashion. But this is outside of Yellowstone National Park. The caldera sits within this region. This is tectonic stress. 3.2, there's a little swarm of activity out here. A couple different swarms, it looks like, around the Hebgen Lake Estates. Got about 20 earthquakes or so. Most of these in the last week were relatively small up until today's 3.2. Now, I don't know if we can see some larger events out there, but there's always some concern. May not happen on these ones that had events back in 1959, but still interesting activity out there. That earthquake, I believe, did show up on the Yellowstone seismograph stations over here. Let's see. That's going to be the three-pointer right there. Earlier this afternoon, it does look like there was a number of earthquakes there previous to that three-pointer. You guys see that? All within the last hour or so, 2 hours leading up to that three-pointer. But nothing's showing up there. Why not? So, hold on a second here. Alright, so it looks like there was a 6-pointer coming in here. Missy Mimi's just passed me some message here. Well, they downgraded it. They're 5.7 Tonga area. Originally coming in as a 6.7. Thank you, Missy Mimi's, for that. Back to the activity there in Hepkin Lake. Curious as to why those earthquakes leading up to that 3.2 did not get reported here. That is bunch of these quakes here previous. See all those events. This seismograph station here looks like it's a somewhat of a distance away from the epicenter of the earthquake activity. That's why it's not showing up on well-defined spikes. And there's really nothing closer over here that would I think this one's offline. That one's offline. Let's see about this one. That one kind of picks it up there. Although this one shows some more earthquake activity, it looks like, around the region. But yeah, it's a little unusual over there. Yellowstone specifically here, I don't see too much of anything. There's the three-pointer showing up. See, there's those other quakes as well. I see those little thicker line bumps on the graph there, so to speak, leading up to the three-pointer, and a little bit afterwards. But so that tells me right there that this was legit earthquake activity happening somewhere over here around that three-pointer. But if it were to show up over here in Yellowstone, then that means they should be around the 2 range or so. But nothing's showing up. Nothing. So there's a few quakes in there that no one wants to deal with, I guess, as far as earthquake activity goes. This here is a little interesting, that thicker line reading. There's another one here as well. Let's see if that showed up anywhere else. Which graph did I check? Was it this one? So that's ML. Let's check this one here. YMR. See, this is picking up that earthquake activity as well. Looks like there was something going on there, but I don't see that thicker line on this one. And the reason why I was checking is because sometimes that looks, you know, it almost looks like some type of, I don't know if it was wind or almost reminds me of magma movement, but I don't see it showing up broad scale all over the place. Nothing on this map, so you know, if there was definitely magma movement or something going on here, it would show up across many different seismograph stations there. It does make a lot of noise on the graph. But anyway, I'll move on past this here. That three-pointer definitely showing up, and it will show up on the majority of the seismograph stations there across Yellowstone National Park. All right, so move on out of there. Oil fields still getting hit, nothing new. Eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet. There's that 5.7 coming in. I knew I'd seen something showing up there on the New Zealand station. That looked like it was a reading there from that 5.7 showing up. I'm guessing that's the P wave right here. Let's go over to GeoNet servers real quick, see what we have. Since the EMSC is offline, as far as the globe goes, it's not working as far as that data goes. But I do want to see the GeoNet servers. It looks like a 3.6 here about 9 minutes ago. So maybe that was this event. Small earthquake there off North Island. Let's see. Deleted event. Yeah, I don't see anything major going on there for now, but we do have to watch New Zealand for sure. This is a little bit better map. I can see things better on here. There's that 4-pointer from last night, I believe, 4.9. See, it's this even this graph is a little glitchy here. I don't know what's going on with it, but we'll jump off of there. 5.7. This is an interesting event here, though. It's deep, 62 miles deep here into the area, but it's back prior here. Normally the deeper earthquake activity occurs down into the subduction zone, which is underneath this area. See, the Pacific plate is diving down underneath this area here. I'll show you guys on the map here real quick. Right at this level here, Pacific plate, notice the arrows, the yellow area diving underneath. The orange, which is the Australia plate there, that normally has the deeper movement quakes. Here, though, that's an awfully odd location for a deep earthquake. I'm thinking this is going to get revised here, because that just doesn't look right for deep activity. Again, most of the deeper quakes here, 70 to 300 kilometers, should be in the darker gray, and there's nothing out there. That's oceanic crust. You know, that's deeper quakes occur to the west there into the subduction zone. So we'll see if it gets revised. Either way, a little bit of activity stirring up there. 5.7, decent sized quake. Yeah, it's what have we got over here? A couple 4s out there. 1 4 down there around Greece. This afternoon, a 4.3 up in Poland. And we got to check the EMSC, because that's like my international data out here. See if there's any swarms going around somewhere that may be of interesting activity. This is the western Turkey area. That's where that 6-pointer struck here a number of days ago. There's still aftershock activity there, in fact, quite a bit, but that's normal from that 6.1 or 6.2 quake they had. Let's see. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet out there. Java Trench region, there's a little bit of migration northward here, it looks like. More recent 3.2. I'm hoping they get that data fixed. See, these guys showing a 6-pointer there at the Tonga region. Still somewhat deep, though. Looks like it's more at the interface there of the subduction zone. Anyway, this is just kind of I don't like the EMSC model, because it's just kind of, at least on my end, it's really a little glitchy. The Big Island of Hawaii got earthquake activity offshore, including one out here on the Loihi Seamount, 2.3 this morning. Let's go check out the latest information here from the Kilauea volcano, which is right here. And deformation data. We're just going to look at the graphs here, see if anything's changing. Everything's going up. This is the inflation chart leading up to the next eruption, which is going to be episode 31. These are the previous eruptions there, the last 3 months, but technically this goes back to the December time period, where it's been a rinse and repeat cycle for 30 times now. And we'll see number 31 here in a number of days, but right now we got a little bit of build up to go. All right, let's see if there's anything else. Puerto Rico area, a couple smaller quakes out there, 2s and 3s. Again, the EMSC model is not working on here. I'm hoping they get it fixed. The data that servers use to access and integrate the earthquake data system into programs such as this, the Earthquake 3D program, there's something going on with their servers. So I hope they get it fixed here. Because right now it's just the USGS on here. All right, what else we got? Space weather activity. Just going to get this moving here. Pretty quiet. Looks like wow, look at that. We dropped way down into the B flare category just like that. You guys see that? That is crazy. After a number of days of C and M flares, of course, that sunspot area, a couple sunspots there, were producing that solar activity, which are now way out there on the western limb, beyond the western limb there on the far side of the sun. So nothing of any noteworthy activity to mention here for solar flare movement. I don't think we're going to see anything either. All these sunspots that are currently facing the Earth are just fading off into the sun, so to speak. There's really not a whole lot of complex sunspots out here. So that flare activity will continue to drop. Right now, these guys still showing a 50%, but it's probably a little bit more reasonable, around 30% or so for an M flare. X flare I have on the live stream, less than 1%. There's really nothing that's going to produce an X flare out here. Let's see. Quick glance here at the hurricane potential. Well, right now it's just tropical storm, right? Tropical storm Aaron spinning out there in the Atlantic, gaining some strength there, a lot of convection. Starting to look a little bit more like a hurricane here, or a tropical system right there, starting to spin up a little bit. Right now, the projected paths of Aaron, taking it way offshore there of the eastern portion of the states. Really no models. There's one weather model here showing it a little bit further to the west, but this is just, down the road. This obviously could change, but they are predicting, forecasting up to a Category 5 hurricane, a couple of them, mostly around 3 though, for the strength. Let's go check out the Atlantic here real quick, and we'll see what's going on here with the weather model. There it is, spinning out there. Under the influence here of a couple high pressures out in the Atlantic, that's going to stir it kind of northward. Boom, right there. Wrapping around that high pressure. If this was parked somewhere up north here, then that would divert it down south into the Gulf area and the Florida area. But that is good news. That's going to stay away from land. Really, I don't see anything else after that, but crazy how things can just get wrapped up and caught up in the patterns there. All right, folks, I'm going to call it night. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday evening here. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning. And I think that's about it here. I'm pretty much ready for bed. Got one earthquake here off the San Andreas Fault. That was from last hour. But anyway, have a good one. We'll see you guys out here in the morning for the Thursday morning update. Take care.